Would you go back in time if you could? Out of all the mainstream superpowers, I think that one might actually be one of the worst. But it would fully depend on the rules, of course. Like, if you go back in time 5 years, maybe you give up 5 years of your lifespan? Would you do it? Or worse, if you go back in time and change anything, you get to know about all the butterfly effects you set off, and how you change the timeline for good. Or bad. Maybe you have to sit in a 2-hour one-on-one lecture, and it's ran by a space judge, and you get to recap all your actions and the effects. Kind of like a Spotify recap, but more eerie. Honestly, that's how I'd set things up if I was in charge, if I was on the superhero committee. If you're going to mess with time, you should deal with the consequences. If you want to go back and cheat to win the lottery, cool, but, well, if you go back in time, you are essentially either returning to a version of you from the past, meaning you don't retain any future memories because they don't exist anymore. So you can't go back in time to win the lottery because you can't remember lottery numbers you've never seen. Or maybe you spawn in a different location. It's probably best that you both stay apart and never meet. Like, what if they see you across the street, get stunned by your beauty, and get hit by a car? Are you done for too? Honestly, going back in time feels like a bigger risk than it's worth. Imagine trying to go back in time to your college days, or to try to Taco Bell XXL steak burrito, only to come back and you're 30 years older. Because the round-trip energy that it took to get you there and back aged your cells. It must really suck to be the first person to attempt time travel. This whole spiral started because I was in Target and came across a book called Before We Forget Kindness. Turns out the book is a part of a series, and I picked up the second to last in the lineup, but it really doesn't matter. The heart of the book stays the same. This little cafe in Japan where you can go back in time, but the rules are really strict, like unnecessarily strict. You can only go back to a time when you were physically in that cafe. You can only stay in the past as long as the coffee you ordered stays hot. And if you don't, well then I assume you're stuck in the past. I don't know, I'm a slow reader. And then there's this old lady, this old ghost lady who hogs the time travel seat. You have to wait for her to get up and decide to go to the bathroom or whatever. Which is so odd to me because what movement could she possibly have? I feel like there's a constipation purgatory joke there, but I'm going to try to maintain some form of maturity. Oh, and the worst one, you can't change anything. Anything you do or say in the past changes absolutely nothing about the present, so what's the point? You're bound to the cafe, you can't change anything, and you're only there for like 20 minutes, an hour tops if you bring a tumbler. But the book wrecked me anyway. It's thought-provoking and heart-ripping in that misery loves company way, and it made me think, what would really drive someone to take the risk? Two things come to mind, nostalgia and regret. And maybe some good old chaotic evil energy, but that's for another time. Nostalgia is a strange emotion, especially when you feel it for a time you weren't actually cautious for or even alive. More and more of Gen Z right now are actually disengaging with social media, going as far as to buy flip phones over whatever iPhone Apple decides to re-release. It's honestly fascinating to watch. I can't say for sure whether my generation would be the first to hop into a time machine or not. I don't miss skinny jeans, but the shared sentiment and longing for a simpler time is so universal right now, it completely makes sense that there might be more takers than expected willing to risk it all for a chance to change things. Although I haven't considered a flip phone personally, I do think it's sad we don't send and receive letters very often, if ever. So I made a silly email list, feel free to join, it's in the description. I thought it was a fun way to have pen pals without the risk of actually having a pen pal. This week, I'm letting you in on a guilty pleasure of mine, but don't tell anybody or you'll regret it. You know, some people are allergic to regret. It's scarier to them than failure. Instead of making decisions to avoid the embarrassment of not reaching their goals, they imagine the pain of living a life of what-ifs. I imagine at least 60% of all hyper-successful people have this mindset, along with 60% of all gamblers, but nonetheless, if I had to pick something I'd redo, it would probably be my Korean language program in Korea. At 22 years old, accounting degree almost done, and capable enough to fly to a whole new country alone, I found myself in class nearly every day with tear stains strolling down my face. One time, mid-test, one-on-one with my teacher, it got to the point where she finally breaks into English and asked me, "Why are you crying? You're good." And I didn't even know why. If she asked me now, 3 years later, why I paid money to cry in class in a foreign country, when there's enough reasons to cry in class back home, I'd probably say it's because I'm American. In the States, speaking a second language is viewed differently than what I would imagine in countries and cultures where speaking multiple languages is the norm, and where it'd be weird if you only spoke one language. Here, if you speak another language, especially if you speak an Asian language or like Russian or something, you're automatically deemed as smart. You'll likely hear comments like, "I could never learn another language," or be asked to say random phrases and almost prove your fluency. But in reality, there's a lot of awkward growing pains in language learning, kind of like waiting for your bangs to grow out after you cut micro bangs. Exciting at first, and then, yeah. Early in my Korean learning, a family member asked me to say something, and I did, and she visibly cringed and said, "Say it again, but without the accent." She loves me, but she grew up in a time where Asian accents were seen as comedic and lesser than, so I can sympathize with her instinctual hesitation. It wasn't personal, but I'd still hypothesize that little moments like that, paired with the pressure to perform smart, probably fueled those waterworks. Did you know there are people who grow up with parents who only speak one language at home and they never pick up their parents' mother's tongue? I don't think we hear those stories too often because there's a sense of shame that can come with it, I imagine. Especially in a country like the States where language acquisition is seen as tied to proximity. But language is weird, and the wires absolutely get tangled up in our heads. It's not like updating your computer, it's more like building a Lego set with IKEA instructions in a dream. It's a dance, it's a relationship, and all relationships take vulnerability and compatibility. And like any relationship, it requires showing up even when you feel stupid, even when you feel misunderstood, and even when you're crying through the test. So, if I could go back in time, even just for the length of a hot coffee, maybe I wouldn't change anything. Maybe I'd just sit with my younger self in that classroom, hand her a coffee, tell her that being vulnerable doesn't mean she's weak, it means she's in love. And now that I think about it, 7 years with Korean and no ring. Maybe I should give it up and break up. German is looking pretty hot these days. I always wanted to try German bread. The sweet garlic bread in Korea really threw me off. But I do miss the smell of roasted sweet potatoes on my way to class. The code was a perfect excuse to duck into a convenience store and buy two, one for each frostbitten hand. I changed my mind. I want to go back in time to the convenience store in front of the school in Korea. I go back to the 7-Eleven, see the nice convenience store ajushi I saw every morning. He'd see my face and automatically grab the tongs in a brown paper bag, and I would finally finish the same conversation he tried to have with me every day. He'd say something in Little English, an opportunity to connect, something about the cold weather, and I'd barely hear him out of embarrassment and overthinking. But this time, I'd finally do more than nod. Sometimes the regret isn't the big choices, it's the little missed nods or too many nods, the sentences that never left your mouth, the moment where you chose safety over bravery, and this time I'd choose bravery. I'd respond. In English or Korean, who cares, but I'd respond. I'd grab my potato, I'd sip my coffee, and wait, is that iced?